What is x squared minus 4xy plus 4y squared over 3xy minus 6y squared reduced to lowest terms? So we want to see if we can factor the top and factor the bottom and then cancel out some factors. So let's start with the top. We have x squared minus 4xy plus 4y squared. So usually when we're factoring a quadratic expression, we just have one variable. So we'd get something that looks like x plus 1 times x plus 2, something like that. But since we have a second variable in here, our second piece here is going to have a y in it. So we know that our first pieces, they multiply to give us our x squared. That's our f in FOIL. And we know our last pieces multiplied give us our 4y squared. So that's where our L comes from. And then our O plus I would give us our middle piece. So we need to find two numbers that multiply to 4y squared and give us an O plus I of negative 4xy. So we could try some options. Y times 4y, that gives us 4y squared. However, if you do your O plus I, you're going to get a positive number. Our O is 4xy, and then our I is xy. Adding those together gives you 5xy, so that's not what we want. Looks like our last pieces need to be negative, so we can get a negative O plus I. So we could have negative 2y times negative 2y. Let's see if that works. Our O is negative 2xy, and then our I is negative 2xy. If you add those together, you get negative 4xy. So we found our two factors. Cleaning it up, we'd get x minus 2y times x minus 2y. So that's what our numerator turns into. So now let's think about our denominator. That's 3xy minus 6y squared. So we only have two pieces here. The factoring that we did for the numerator only works if there are three pieces, or if we have a difference of squares, but we don't have either in this case. So what we want to do is factor out a common number that's being multiplied in this term and this term. You might notice that both of these terms, we're multiplying a y, so we can factor that out. Factoring out is just like doing the distributive property backwards. So we take out that y, and we're left with 3x minus 6y. So if you multiplied that y back in, you'd get this line. And we can actually factor out one more number. 6 is the same as 3 times 2. So now, in each of our pieces, we're multiplying a 3, so we can take that out. Once we take it out, we're left with 3 times y on the outside, and then x minus 2y on the inside. Again, if you distribute that 3y by each piece on the inside, you'll get back to the original expression. So now we've taken our denominator and turned it into this. So now we'll rewrite our original problem using our factors. Our numerator was x minus 2y times x minus 2y. And our denominator, we got 3y times x minus 2y. As you can see, there's a common factor on top and bottom that we can cancel out. And we're left with x minus 2y over 3y. And looking at our answer choices, that would be option B. Simplify 6x squared plus 21x plus 9 over 4x squared minus 1 to lowest terms. So again, we'll work with our numerator and then our denominator and then cancel out terms. So starting with the top, we have 6x squared plus 21x plus 9. So we need to factor this into our two pieces. However, we can make our job easier by noticing that each of our coefficients is divisible by 3, so we can factor out a 3. So our new polynomial looks like 3 times 2x squared plus 7x plus 3. So now we have some smaller numbers to factor. Again, our first pieces are going to multiply to get our 2x squared. So we could have x times 2x. And now we need our last pieces. Those multiply to give us 3. So we could have 1 times 3. And since our first pieces are different, it matters where we put our 1 and 3 because we'll get a different o plus I. So if we put 1 here and 3 here, our o plus I would be 5x, which is not what we want. So we need to switch the order. 3 and 1. Our o plus I is 1x plus 6x, which gives us our 7x. So we have the correct factors. Our numerator turned into this. Now let's deal with the denominator. We have 4x squared minus 1. And here we have 2 terms. There's no common number that's being multiplied in each, so we can't factor something out. However, this is a special kind of expression. It's a difference of squares. So 4x squared we could write as 2x squared, and 1 we could write as 1 squared. So we call this a difference of squares. And in general, a difference of squares looks like a squared minus b squared. And when we factor it, we'll get a plus b times a minus b. The reason this works is our o plus I end up canceling out, so we're left with just 2 terms. In our problem, our 2x is going to be our a, and our 1 is our b. So we'll just follow our pattern. We can factor it as 2x plus 1 times 2x minus 1. So now we factored our denominator. Now we can rewrite our entire fraction using our factors. We have 3 times x plus 3 times 2x plus 1 divided by 2x plus 1 times 2x minus 1. And as you can see, our common factor is 2x plus 1, so we can cancel that out. And we're left with 3 times x plus 3 over 2x minus 1. And looking at our answer choices, that would be option B. What is x squared minus 4x plus 4 divided by x squared minus 3x plus 2 reduced to lowest terms? All right, we know the process now. Let's deal with the top. We have x squared minus 4x plus 4. Take a second and make sure you can factor that. I'll go straight to the answer. It'll be x minus 2 times x minus 2. And our denominator, we have x squared minus 3x plus 2. Again, make sure you can factor that. If you're having trouble with factoring, you can review the video on factoring polynomials. But I'll go straight to the answer, x minus 1 times x minus 2. So now we can rewrite our original fraction using our factors. On top, we have x minus 2 times x minus 2, and on bottom, x minus 1 times x minus 2. And our common factor is x minus 2. So we can cancel one of those out. And we're left with x minus 2 over x minus 1. Looking at our answer choices, that is option A. What is 12a cubed minus 20a squared over 16a squared plus 18a, reduced to lowest terms? Starting with our numerator, we have 12a cubed minus 20a squared. And looking for the common number that we're multiplying in each of our terms, you can see an a squared is being multiplied. So we can factor that out. We'll have a squared times 12a minus 20. And you might notice that 12 is 4 times 3, and 20 is 4 times 5. So we have another common number. That would be 4. So we can factor that out. And we're left with 4a squared times 3a minus 5. All right, let's look at the denominator. We have 16a squared plus 8a. You might notice that 16 is 8 times 2. So what's the common number that we're multiplying in both pieces? That would be 8a. We're multiplying an 8 and an a, and an 8 and an a. So we'll factor out 8a, and we're left with 2a plus 1. Now we have our numerator and denominator factored, so we can rewrite our original fraction. We'll have 4a squared times 3a minus 5 over 8a times 2a plus 1. Do you notice any factors we could cancel out? Well, top and bottom, we have an a in common, so we can cross out 1a. We still have an a on top. And on bottom, we have an 8, which we can rewrite as 4 times 2, which means we can cancel out a 4. So now we're left with a times 3a minus 5 over 2 times 2a plus 1. And looking at our answer choices, that is option D. (7z squared plus 7z divided by 4z plus 8), this fraction multiplied by z squared minus 4 divided by z cubed plus 2z squared plus z. So this is a bit more complicated. Let's start by rewriting our problem. We'll take this step by step. Starting with the numerator here, we'll factor that. There's only 2 pieces, so we need to factor out the common number that we're multiplying, which means we would factor out 7z, and we're left with z plus 1. Now let's look at the denominator. 4z plus 8, we can factor out a 4, so we have z plus 2 on the inside. Our next fraction, z squared minus 4, we can write this as z squared minus 2 squared, so we have a difference of squares, and we can factor it into z plus 2 times z minus 2. So we'll write that here, z plus 2 times z minus 2. Now we have one more piece to factor, z cubed plus 2z squared plus z. You might notice that you can factor out a z, so we're left with z squared plus 2z plus 1. Now we have a quadratic expression, and we can factor that. We can write it as z plus 1 times z plus 1. So we've replaced this guy with our 2 factors. Now we have 2 fractions here that we're multiplying. And when you multiply fractions, you multiply all the pieces on top and then all the pieces on bottom to make one fraction. And since that's the case, this z plus 1 is going to be on top of this z plus 1, so we can go ahead and cancel them out. Similarly, when we multiply this and get one fraction, this z plus 2 is going to be over this z plus 2, and they'll cancel. So we can go ahead and do that now. And there's one more. Might be hard to see. We have a z here and a z here. So we can cancel those out. So our fraction on the left looks like 7 over 4. And on the right, we have z minus 2 over z plus 1. And we can multiply them together. We'd get 7 times z minus 2 over 4 times z plus 1. And looking at our answer choices, that is option A. Which fraction equals the product x plus 5 over 3x plus 2 times 2x minus 3 over x minus 5? So this is similar to the previous problem. We have two fractions, and we want to simplify each of our 4 pieces here, but it looks like they're already simplified. And we don't have anything that we can cancel out. If we had an x plus 5 here, then we could cancel out these guys, but we don't. So that means we just need to multiply these two fractions. So we'll use the FOIL method to multiply these two. Our first pieces, x times 2x, gives us 2x squared. And then our outer, minus 3x. Our inner, 10x. And then our last pieces give us 15. And on bottom, 3x times x gives us 3x squared. Our outer pieces give us negative 15x. Our inner pieces give us 2x. And our last pieces give us negative 10. And simplifying this, we get 2x squared, and negative 3x plus 10x gives us 7x. Negative 15x plus 2x gives us negative 13x, and we have minus 10 at the end. And we have our answer. Looking at the options, that would be option D. If we were able to cancel something in the beginning, we would have gotten a simpler answer like A and B. However, since there was nothing to cancel, we had to multiply our fractions out and get an answer that looks like this. X squared plus 8x plus 16 over x plus 3, this fraction divided by 2x plus 8 over x squared minus 9. So we're dividing fractions, and when we do that, we multiply by our second fraction flipped. So we keep our first fraction the same, and we multiply by our second fraction flipped. Now we'll factor this one step at a time, starting with this piece. If we factor that, we'll get x plus 4 times x plus 4. On bottom, we just have x plus 3. You might notice that x squared minus 9 is a difference of squares. We can write it as x squared minus 3 squared. And we can factor this as x plus 3 times x minus 3. And we'll write that down here. And on bottom, we have 2x plus 8. We can factor out a 2 and get x plus 4 on the inside. Now we need to look for factors that we can cancel out. We can cancel out x plus 4 with this one, and we can cancel out x plus 3 with this one. Our first fraction, we just have x plus 4, and on bottom, our factors canceled, so we just have 1. And our second fraction, we have x minus 3 over 2. Multiplying these fractions, we get x plus 4 times x minus 3 over 2. And looking at our answer choices, that is option C. Which fraction is equivalent to 3x over 5 divided by x over 4 plus x over 2. So we'll start off by adding these two fractions. We have x over 4 plus x over 2. When we add fractions, we need to get a common denominator. In this case, our common denominator would be 4, because we can multiply by 2 on top and bottom here to get a denominator of 4. So we have x over 4 plus 2x over 4. And adding these two, we would get 3x over 4. So we added these two fractions and got 3x over 4. So now we have a fraction divided by a fraction. So let's rewrite that. We'll have 3x over 5 divided by 3x over 4. So when we divide fractions, we multiply by the second fraction flipped. So this becomes 3x over 5 times 4 over 3x. Let's see if we can cancel anything out. We see a 3x on top and 1 on bottom. Our first fraction becomes 1/5, and our second becomes 4 over 1. Multiplying these two, we get 4/5. And looking at our answer choices, we get option C.